Well, good day. It is the 6th day of May 2021. And today I'm going to continue on with what I have been doing, which is reviewing the federal employee viewpoint surveys, specifically with regards today with the Secret Service, which is something of a surprise to me. I have to admit it's a surprise. The Secret Service, one of the most highly regarded agencies. But it's also one of the most tight-lipped agencies because the agents and the officers in the Secret Service sign very strict non-disclosure. And again, principally the role of the Secret Service is to protect the president and the first family. Everything else is a very distant second. And also to protect the vice president and the vice president's family and presidential candidates, but it's primarily protective. Okay, they do also conduct investigations into counterfeiting and entitlement program fraud, but again, those are they take a back seat certainly to the protective functions of the agency. And with regards to Secret Service, again, there's two main positions. There's a special agent position, which conducts investigations, and then there's the uniform division, which works generally fixed posts of duty at the White House, the old executive office building, the vice president's residence. But again, most of those jobs require or are focused primarily on the security of the president and the first family. And this agency has really fluctuated a great deal. DEA really hasn't fluctuated a lot since they began doing these surveys in the early 2000s. But at one time, the Secret Service was among the best agencies rated by its employees to work. And then it dropped really, really low. And now it's on its way back up again, but it's still very low compared to other agencies. So we're going to look at the rankings, how it's fluctuated over time, and try to explain why this is. Okay, and this is the Secret Service's agency report. And again, best places to work in the federal government. And they rank 360 out of 420 agencies. That's not very high. That's down, that's very low, actually. It's in the bottom third. The engagement score for 2019, 52.9. So that is a very low engagement score. It's much higher than it was in 2017, which was 33. But at one time, if you go back to 2003, I don't know why 2004 is not on here, but 2005, it had a very high score. So let's take a look at the ratings of the agency. And again, the engagement score is based on three factors that I'm going to put up on the screen. And it basically, do the employees recommend it as a place to work? Overall, how satisfied are they with their jobs? Okay. And those are the main factors that go into the engagement score. And as you can see, starting around 2003, it was about median. And then it certainly was above average in 2005, 2006. And then it began to take a very serious decline. And there was a peaks and valleys, went up in 2011, but then went, very sharp decline and kind of bottomed out between 2015, 2016, 2017. It was among the worst places to work in the federal government. Now, starting 2017, it began to climb up again. And so, there's a number of reasons that have been given for this. Let's take a little bit, deeper look in the scores by category. And again, you can see over time that the agency has gone from a very high rating to a very low ratings. And if you look at, like, for instance, effective leadership by supervisors, rated very high in 2003, 2005, 2007. But then it's just taken a dump. It's really, it's dropped. Right now it's ranked 320 out of 413 agencies. What about senior leadership? Again, that has gone from a high of 51% in 2007 down to, went way down to in 2016 was extremely low, but it's still very low, 330 out of 413. What about employee skills and mission match? Again, was the highest in 2003, but right now it's 364 out of 415 agencies. Pay, you'd think that would be fairly high. They're actually not that satisfied with their pay or their training. Work-life balance, they're not very happy with it. The employees are not. They never have been. Okay, and it's gone from really not good to even worse. And again, it had a really deep valley between 2016, 2015, 2014. Awards, it's never been whether people feel that their promotions and awards that they're put in for is based on merit or whether it's based on something else. And again, the high would have been, way back in 2003, and it's just been low. So what can we conclude from this? Morale, really took a dump in the Secret Service, after 2011, 2012, and 2013, 14, 15, 16, it was very low. It's on its way back up, but it's still way below the average for the federal government. Now, why is this? And that is an important question that I'm going to try to answer. Why did morale get so low in the federal government Secret Service? Why was it? And I've read a couple of articles online as to why. And one of the reasons that was cited was just the length of time it took to bring employees on, a large shortage of employees, particularly in the uniform division, and a large amount of overtime and elimination of days off in the uniform division. So this is something that obviously affects morale. If you don't get days off because you're always working, you're not going to be happy with your job. Okay? If you're fatigued, you're not going to be happy with your job. Now, again, in 2016, money was put into the agency to hire new agents and new uniformed officers, and the length of time from application to hire went from 15 months to 4 months. So this is a huge thing that has resulted in an increase in morale. But again, it doesn't explain everything. And there was, again, the agency is very close-lipped. They're supposed to be close-lipped about their work and who they work with. And there are people who are agreeable to work for, and there's people who are not agreeable to work for. Okay. And one thing a lot of folks don't realize about the Secret Service, and I think a lot of times a lot of protectees don't realize it, or they don't appreciate it. And that is if you are escorting, let's say, the son or daughter of a president, a sitting president, and some lunatic opens fire, and you're closest to that protectee's son or daughter, your job is not to return fire. Your job is to dive on the protectee and take a bullet. That's your job. And the same with the president, or a president's wife, or, a president's son, and certainly the president. And, the way you treat these people, again, there are some people who are agreeable and nice to work for, and then there's people who just aren't so nice to work for. There was a book published back in 2011 by Ronald Kessler, who's written a number of books on law enforcement. He wrote one on the FBI, and used to be a Washington Post reporter, and he wrote one on the Secret Service, inside the President's Secret Service. So if you want to get that book, again, some of it is based on unattributed interviews with people, because they can't be attributable because they put their name on it. They can be sanctioned. They could be charged criminally because you sign this oath where you will not speak about the president, period. You take the secrets to the grave. So, but again, there's opinions on different presidents. It obviously doesn't get to President Trump because the book was written long before Trump came around. But you can read it, make up your own mind whether you want to believe the good or bad about it. But but again, obviously the person that you're protecting, the family, their attitude toward you, it's going to have an effect. Okay, and we'll just leave it at that. But what's surprising, again, is it went from one of the best places to work in the early 2000s to one of the worst places to work in 2015, 2016, 2017. Now, with the increase in budget, we see an increase in the morale. So morale is increasing, but again, it's not where it should be. It's way below average in the federal government, and that's surprising for an elite agency, an agency that is well funded. I don't care what anyone says. It's among the best funded agencies. They make sure it's well funded. We're not talking about the Border Patrol where, you're thrown into a desert in the middle of God knows where. And this is a very different, they take care of this agency, and the people in it. So I don't understand why the morale would be so low. And I'm going to leave that, part of it was funding, obviously, and new positions and reduction in hiring time and more officers on board. I get it. But then part of it, it has to go beyond that. And that I'm going to leave to you, to decide. So hopefully it's been somewhat informative if you want a job in the uniform division or as a special agent. Again, buyer beware, because the agency, the morale apparently is not all that high. Okay. So hopefully it's been useful and informative, and I'll do the next one is going to be on the Law Enforcement Equity Act of 2021, which will have a huge impact on people who are seeking positions in federal government. Okay.